Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you an overview of the Gravity Forms plugin for WordPress and create a basic form with all the settings and options that come with Gravity Forms. So let's just get started. First thing you want to do when you install the Gravity Forms plugin, you want to head to this section labeled Forms, and you can create a form by either clicking on the New Form right here in the navigation or the Add New button right here on top. So, and then once the pop-up comes up, you can give it a title. We're going to call it Contact Form, and you can also give it a description. This is optional. We'll just say so that you can contact us. And once you create the form, you get on the editor page. On this page, Gravity Forms actually has a really nice illustration, and it actually shows you exactly what to do to start adding the fields to your form. So the illustrations are very straightforward. So if you look at the right side, you see these 4 tabs. We have different types of input fields. We have the standard fields, advanced fields, post fields, and pricing fields. Let's get started with standard. These are pretty much all the standard fields that you'll see on any form, really, on any website. You have your input fields, drop downs, checkboxes, radio buttons, hidden fields, paragraph text, section, page. So everything is pretty standard. But in the advanced fields, these are actually pretty cool fields. They're all kind of predefined. For example, the address field has a street field, field for a street, state, zip code, etc. So these are all predefined, and we'll get to it in a little bit. Post fields are mostly if you have a form that actually creates a post that gets added to your WordPress admin panel. So if you have a form, for example, if you're running a directory website, you can have a form that creates, upon submission, it creates a post within your WordPress admin panel, and it pre-populates the title, the body content, the category, etc. Price fields, pricing fields are a little bit more advanced. I'm not going to get too much into detail about the pricing fields in this video, but it pretty much, if you have a payment kind of form that you need to charge credit cards, but in order for these to actually function properly, you have to have either a PayPal add-on or an Authorize.net add-on installed for your Gravity form, so that the credit card information actually gets processed by your credit card processor. So let's get started with some of the standard fields. We'll just go ahead and click on the single line text, and by clicking on it, it automatically adds a new field right here. By default, it's titled untitled. You can click on this bar right here, and it will give you all the options about editing the specific field. So let's just go ahead and give it a title. We're going to call it subject, for example. Sorry, subject. Description, again, optional. We'll call it, what do you need? Okay, or let's just call it, what are you looking for? Okay, and we'll make it a required field. And under appearance, you can give it a placeholder, and every time you type anything in the placeholder, you'll see a preview of what the field is going to look like. So a placeholder could be, I need help with my site, for example. Okay, and you can also assign custom CSS classes. This is more for styling purposes. So if you want this field to be styled in a certain way, you can give it a class, and then within your CSS file, you can target this CSS element and style it accordingly, pretty much. Field size, it's pretty much the width of the field. You can make it small, medium, or large. We'll just go with the default medium for now. And under advanced options, the admin field label, it automatically defaults to whatever the label is, but if you want to label it something else for your own purposes, you can go ahead and do that. We'll just leave it blank for now. You can also assign a default value, so if nothing is entered by the end user, the default value will be used for this field. Okay. Enable conditional logic. I'll go into that. Right now we only have one field. You won't be able to use this, but I'll explain that a little bit further in detail with one of the other fields. So let's just go ahead and close this, and then we can also add, let's just say, a drop down. Okay, so again, untitled. In this case, we're going to call it country, what country you're from. Okay. And anytime you add radio button, a checkbox, multi-select, or drop-down, you'll see these rows that are pretty much the option that the end user can choose from, and you can add as many as you want, or reorder them, or delete any of the existing ones. By default, Gravity Forms will always add these three options. You can add a new one by clicking the plus button and just type in the value, or you can delete any of them by clicking the minus button, or you can also reorder them by simply just drag and drop. Okay. Now, one really cool feature for these four type of input fields, radio button, checkboxes, multi-select, and drop-down, is the predefined choices. In this case, the reason why I chose country is because I wanted to explain this. So when you click on predefined choices, Gravity Forms has a lot of several actually different standard features that you can use. In this case, I chose country, for example. I could go in there and manually enter each country name by adding plus and then manually entering the name of the country, or I could use the predefined choice and simply just click on countries, and it will populate all the different country names. And then if I click on insert choices, and boom, now I have all the country names in there as options, and instead of typing them manually. So this will definitely save you a lot of time. Once it's populated, of course, you can go in there and make any more further edits. You can add any other countries that might have been missed in the list, which I highly doubt, but you can also remove any ones that you don't need or reorder them however you like. So we'll just go with this, with the default option, and make it required again. Okay, let's see what else we can add here. We'll add a paragraph text for comments. So we'll label it comments and make it also required. And now let's go into some of the advanced fields. So advanced fields, as I mentioned, are predefined fields. For example, if I was to choose address, as you can see, instead of just putting one line of text, one input field, same as the standard fields, it actually creates an entire section for all the information that you need to collect the address. So it would be line 1, line 2, city, state, zip code, and country. Now, when you click on the advanced fields options, they usually come with a few more options in there. So in this case, since it's with the address field, you can choose whether you want it international, US, or Canadian. If I choose international, it also shows the country. If I choose United States, it automatically removes the country field, and it will also pre-populate the state field with all the United States. Okay, and you can also choose a default state. In this case, we can choose California, for example, and also make it required. And close this. And what else can we do? Let's add another email field, for example. Okay, and then it's already labeled email, and we'll make this also required. And in this case, we also wanted to have a second field so you can confirm your email, just in case you mistyped it. So as you can see, it will add email, enter email, and then confirm email. Anyway, and then once you enter the email address, it will validate it according to what you entered. So let's close this. And another option is, let's just say I added, anytime you add a new field, it gets added to the bottom of the form. Now, since I added email at last, the last option, it automatically added it to the bottom, but I would prefer to have it more towards the top. So we'll go ahead and drag it and then move it all the way on top. And from the advanced field, I also want the name field. Okay, and it automatically adds first name, last name. Again, it comes with a few options. I can enable middle name and also make it required, and also drag it all the way to the top. Okay, so this looks somewhat okay, I guess, for testing. So we'll go ahead and update the form. Now that we have all the form fields ready, we need to go into setting up the actual form functionality. So click on form settings, and these are the settings for our form. The basics, the title and the description, which we already entered in the first step when we created the form. You have a few options here as far as the layout. You can place the label either top aligned, left or right aligned, the description, below or above inputs, sub label placement, again below or above, and same as input fields, you can also assign a class, a CSS class, to the entire form. So if you want this form to be styled different than any other form on your website, you can give it a class name and style it accordingly. Further down we have the form button. You have two options. You can either make it into a text or an image. If it's text, you simply just have to enter the label, the value of the button. If it's an image, you will have to either upload your PNG file or JPEG file into the media library or into your themes folder, image folder, or and then just enter the URL in here as to where the image exactly is. Button conditional logic, pretty much if you check mark it, and the conditional logic, I forgot to actually mention it in the form when we're creating the form. So the conditional logic works pretty much the same wherever you see it. It creates a condition where if something, if you meet certain criterias, it does something. So in this case, if let's just say if email is, or actually let's just say if country is, let's just say Australia, for example, if somebody selects Australia, that's the only time that I want the button to show, the submit button. Otherwise, it will be hidden. Or you can do the reverse. The submit button is visible unless if you select Australia, it will be hidden. So conditional is pretty much you meet certain criteria and something happens. We're going to disable it for now and also select text since I don't have a JPEG or a PNG file ready. Save and continue, a pretty cool tool if you have longer forms, such as maybe a long application, job application or whatever it is. You can enable this, and what this does is it gives the end user the option to save the form and continue at a later time. So as I mentioned, if you have a long form, the end user can enter start entering all the information, and if they, maybe they have to step away, they can save the form, come back and continue without losing any of that data, and continue submitting the form at a later time. The restrictions pretty much limit number of entries. Let's just say you're running a contest, for example, and you're only going to accept 50 entries. You can check mark this and give it a value of 50, and as soon as 50 entries have been collected, the form won't be accepting any more new entries, pretty much. Schedule form, you can schedule the form to be visible and then also be hidden within a period of time. So you can give it a date of when it's visible and when it's supposed to be hidden again. You can also require users to be logged in order to submit the form. So you can check mark it and user would have to log in in order to see the form and submit it. This option, actually, the anti-spam honeypot, I highly encourage you to always check mark it, just to cut down on the number of spams that you might be getting. This pretty much, it's against bots that keep submitting forms and entering spam into your database. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and update the form settings. And then the next step would be actually, there are two very important tabs right here, confirmation and notification. Confirmations are for the end user. Whenever they submit the form, they see you can show them some kind of success message or redirect them to a thank you page, etc. Notifications are emails that get sent out as soon as the form is submitted. It could be a notification either to the admin with all the data that was submitted, or it could be an email to the end user, a copy of what they've submitted. So a lot of features there. So let's get started with confirmations. By default, anytime you create a form, there's a default confirmation with a default text in there. You can click on edit. And as you can see, there is already the text in there. We have three options here. You can display a text. So as soon as the form is submitted, the form will be hidden and the text will be visible in its stead. You can edit the text as you like. The second option is you can send them to, after form submission, you can choose to send the user to a page that you've created within WordPress. Or redirect is a custom URL if you want to redirect them to a different website or just whatever custom URL that you want to input in there. Pass valid data, pass field data, it's actually a little bit more advanced. We'll cover this in a different video. But for now, let's just go with text and leave the default, say confirmation. And notifications, again, you have a default notification anytime you create a form. Click on edit, and these are all the settings for receiving the email as an admin. So by default, it's called admin notification. You can rename it to whatever you want. And here also you have a few options. You can have the form be submitted to an email address. Whenever you see these values right here, those are variables. So in this case, it will be sent to the admin email. So whatever email that you have set up for the admin user, or you can remove it and enter an actual email. So let's just say john@domain.com. So whenever the form is submitted, I want the form submission to be forwarded to john@domain.com. Okay. Another option would be select the field. So if you have a certain field, you can select it. If it's supposed to go, if you want to send a copy to the end user, you can select the field, choose the email, and it will, whatever email address that they entered in the form field, that will also get an email, a copy of the submission in this email. Configure routing is actually a very cool tool. You can specify based on certain criteria as to where the email should be sent to. So let's just say, in this case, we have countries. So let's just choose the country field. If the country is, for example, Argentina, I want the email to be sent to john@domain.com, and clicking the plus button adds a new row. If the country is, let's just say, Australia, I want the form to be sent to bob@domain.com. This is, in this case, let's just say you have salespeople, and based on the country or the region, you want certain sales agents to receive that submission. So it's a very cool tool. From name, you can, by the way, whenever you see these icons right here, you can use any of the dynamic values from the form to be placed in here. So in this case, whatever name that was entered in a form, I want that to be the from name. So I'm going to click on this, choose the first name, give it a space, and choose the last name. So the from would be first name and last name. So whatever entry that was submitted will be the first name and last name dynamically populated here. Same thing here, from email, I want to use the email field, and reply to, we'll leave that empty for now. You can also carbon copy another email. Let's just say manager@domain.com. Okay. Subject, again, you can by default it says new submission form, and then whatever title that you assign to the form, or you can rewrite override it with whatever you want to for whatever you want it to say. Right here, these are all the fields that were submitted. The all fields means that whenever you receive an email as an admin or as a client or whatever the email is going to, you will see all the fields that were submitted. We can add more items to it. So let's just say submitted. And other than the form fields, you can also select some of the other items, some of the other variables that Gravity Forms collects as soon as the form is submitted, such as the user IP or the date it was submitted, or what URL it was used, what URL they were on when they submitted the form, etc. So we'll just go ahead and select the date for now. Okay. And then update notification. Okay, so that's that. Now let's just go back to the form really quick. I'll click on the edit button and click on the preview so you can see how the form looks like. Now don't mind the styling of it. This is just a preview mode, so there's really not much styling to it, but this is pretty much what it looks like. You have the first name, last name, middle name. You have the email, confirmation email, the subject, the country, comments, and address. And the address, as you can see, the state is already defaulted to California, as I specified when I was creating the form. So let's just go ahead and fill out the information here. Okay, let's just say, yep, testing the form. Okay, country, we'll go ahead and choose United States. Comments, I'm testing your new form. And I'm not going to enter anything in here on purpose, just so we can see what happens if you don't fill out a required field. So I'm just going to go ahead and click submit. And as you can see, you see a big message right here saying that there is something wrong with the form. And right here below the form, the field, it says more specifically what's missing and what's required. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter my information. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now we have everything that was required, and we'll go ahead and submit again. And this is the message that we received. So thanks for contacting us. As I mentioned, you can display this message, or you can redirect to a different page, or you can redirect to a custom URL. So this is it for the front of the website, the end user. Now let's go back to the admin panel, and under forms you can also see you see a link labeled entries. When you click on entries, Gravity Forms saves all the entries in a database, so you can view them here in case for whatever reason you didn't receive the email, or you just want to keep a database of all your entries. By default, it will display the fields, that the first few fields that you have and you set up in your form. You can change that by clicking on this icon. So let's just say I don't want to see the subject, but I do want to see, let's just say, the middle name, for example. And you can just drag and drop. Whatever is on the left is what you see. Whatever is on the right is what is available to you, but it's not visible. So let's just click on save. And as you can see now, I see first name, middle name, last name, email, and country. Okay, so you can also click on the first name or view to see more details about this submission. And as you can see, all the data has been collected in here. You can also see when it was collected, the IP address, I'm logged in as a user admin, and you can also resend the emails. For example, in this case, the admin notification, you can resend it, or you can also print this entire submission. Another cool tool is Notes down below right here. This is for you as an admin. Let's just say I want to enter a note here saying that I already replied to this email. Okay, and you can also choose to send this note to the email address that was used for submitting the form or not. So it would be just add note, and this is just a note for myself. So when I come back to this, I already know that I already replied to this email or whatever notes that I put in there. And that's pretty much it. That's all the basics of Gravity Forms. That's actually one more thing. Let me go ahead and we saw the form in preview, but let's just actually go ahead and add it to a page. So let's go to Pages. I created a page called Contact Us. And whenever you install Gravity Forms, it automatically adds this button, Add Form, to the WYSIWYG editor. So you can click on it, select the form that you want displayed on this page. We'll just leave this as checked, display the form title and description, or also enable Ajax. And insert the form. It automatically adds the Gravity Forms shortcode for that specific form. And if I update this and view the page, as you can see, the form is right there. Now again, the styling, I'm sure it will look way different on your website depending on your styling. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Very basic form, submits a lot of cool features. So hopefully this tutorial was helpful and you enjoyed watching it. We'll be coming out with more advanced videos hopefully soon, covering some of the advanced features of Gravity Forms. Thank you for watching.